Hey, everybody. I'm Chris Metzler, one of the programmers here at SF DocFest. As of those of you that come to the festival for a few years, we've been bringing interesting documentaries from all around the world for the last 24 years to the Bay Area. And, over time, it's always then neat to kind of welcome back alumni. And we're lucky enough to have alumni film that you just saw, the really terrific Wild Magic. And we have director Sean Dunn here and producer Cassidy Greener. Thanks again, guys, and excited to be have you back.
Thank you so much. Also, I just wanted to note, in addition to producing the movie, Cass shot it.
Oh,
She's
very cool.
well, yeah. So very exciting for us.
So maybe a good place to dig in is like, what's the kind of origin story? You guys have told interesting documentary stories from so many different kind of corners of the country and the world. Like, what was about this one that you knew that you wanted to take that leap of faith?
Yeah, this one felt like it came to us like at first as like a vibe that we were kind of like living and tapping into within like our community and our travels and stuff. And then it came as a title. And that was probably 5 or 6 years ago, maybe at the beginning of the pandemic. I thought of the title Wild Magic, and I was like, that sounds like one of our movies. What would it be? And then that pursuit just that took over like 5 years of our life, thinking about what it would be and then realizing what it is, and that it's a reflection of kind of the way we live, and the things we notice, and the connections that we make, and trying to capture that vibration. It was kind of like that's what it really started with, that just a title and a vibe, and really allowing the film to focus in on what that means, on what Wild Magic really is. So it's probably our most personal film in a way. Like, I think it's most reflective of the way we see the world and the interactions we have with people and how kind of life feels to us. So it feels very kind of like wholesome and personal in that way, more than our other films.
That's cool. Well, how did that like affect the kind of aesthetic of the film, of like the way that you wanted to, photograph it and capture it, was there like kind of a rebalancing act in your mind of like how you want to approach it, or how are the visual kind of affected based on the people's whose stories you share?
Well, it's the first thing we realized when we started getting out there and making this is like, we would schedule like interviews with some guru at a temple, and like it would be like, oh, very precious, and like, oh, we're gonna have to go and we're gonna get this right, and we're gonna lock off the camera and everything and get this interview and really get this person's wisdom. And what would happen is, on our way to the temple, at the gas station, some guy would blow our mind, and we'd pull the camera out and very handheld, just in the moment feeling. We'd get stuff like that. And so when we got back to the edit, we're like, that's the movie. The movie is the wild part of Wild Magic, is
Mm.
noticing the things and people that I think maybe we've trained our eye to not pick up on, because it might be too much, it might be too heavy. So I think that informed the shooting style, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was also partly out of necessity. We started filming this with our friend Joey Lipstein, who had filmed our previous film Wooks, and so he kind of built out the camera and had this kind of handheld approach that I was lucky enough to just try to honor as much as possible with what he established. But I really feel that it like kind of is allows for an intimacy of kind of feeling like you're there with us, and not too precious, which we kind of appreciate.
Yeah, there's like a
Mm.
looseness, I think, that invites the viewer to feel like they're on a journey with us, and like we try to eschew the preciousness, I think, that comes along with taking on making a feature film, and we kind of let the film make us. And I think that the visual style was very much just meant to not distract from the moment and just kind of land you there with people and honor them. And even our setup was just a DSLR. Like, we spent a lot of money on the lenses, but we just used a what was it, the Sony A7S. And
Too.
yeah, so it's like this little camera, and Cass is tiny, and she's holding this little camera, and it's just like not an intimidating setup. So it cuts through, and all of a sudden you're really able to kind of quickly get to something really cool with people.
Sean and I have made a lot of movies together at this point, and everyone feels so different, and it just feels, as Big Steve from the Grateful Dead will say, the situation is the boss, you know? So,
Yeah.
the roadie. So he really kind of informs how we approach filmmaking, and everyone feels like, okay, what does this one need? Okay, this is in order to be on the road more days, how do we keep our crew as compact as possible? By the end of the we were filming, I was doing camera, Sean was doing sound, and it was just the two of us. And we've gone from, you know, 15 people on our crew and when we did Oceana in 2012 to now just us. We're kind of taking the opposite approach of a lot of filmmakers who start like, okay, it's just us out there, and then let's build a crew. And we kind of just like have essentialized it the opposite direction.
Well, it's cool. I think it's kind of reflected in the way that you guys make your films. So, with the folks that we see, on screen, can you tell us a little bit about, for lack of a better word, like quote unquote, the process? Like how did you find, these folks? Because it seems you're kind of attenuated to kind of a vibe and a thing that you're out there. It's like, how much of this is kind of, serendipity, and how much of it is research and kind of planning and things?
I think it's like all serendipity. It's kind of crazy, but like once we got in the edit, it was like too tempting to just make the whole movie of the people that we just kind of discovered in the wild. Nothing that we planned for or could have planned for. And so like, an example is, oh, this is beautiful because the people watching this have already seen the movie. I'm used to talking about this and no one's seen it yet, but like the movie, literally, we said, okay, let's go make wild magic. And we got in our car in New York City and just started driving west. And we were halfway through Pennsylvania and the sunset was beautiful. And we said, let's just pull over. And the first thing we'll shoot for this movie is this beautiful sunset. We start filming the sunset. A trucker pulls in and says, what are y'all doing? And we said, I don't know, trying to talk to people about magic. That's what started the movie. And the next person we talked to was that trans woman who was in the parking lot, who kind of ends the movie. So the first two people we talked to bookended the film. And it's when we fell under the spell of the film, is right out of the gate. The first stop we made, we were like, oh, this is what this is. This movie, it exists kind of like the way Wi-Fi was always there. We just had to tap into it. So like we tapped into it right away at the first truck stop, and we realized what it was. And we said, we got to follow that. We have to follow those instincts. Everything else is kind of going to be a waste of our time, and then ultimately a waste of our very, very tiny budget. So that really informed the process. And then when I got back in the edit, it just worked so well as a beginning and an ending. It felt like this film was coming through us and we were just a channel for something. It really felt like, for lack of a better word, like angels decided we were the ones to make this thing, and here's how you make it. And anytime we tried to push, it wasn't right, and things would go off the rails in the craziest ways possible. So we chose not to push, and you just took kind of like a path of least resistance and just keep putting ourselves out there. And so I like to tell people the subjects found us. We know what it feels right. We know when it's time to turn on the camera, but the fact that we would intersect with these people and they would say these heavy things to us is just like, it blows my mind. It kind of makes me nervous. This movie, I watch it and I'm like, how is this possible?
Yeah. And like there are people that, I found because I was researching, or Sean saw on Instagram or whatever, but what happens with those people is they end up just being an anchor, not only to feature them, but to them be like, oh, you know who you should talk to? And then it sends us in a direction, whether we end up filming with that person or the person we meet along the way to film that person.
Yeah, the amount of people that are like that we had to tell you guys didn't make it into the movie, like it kind of breaks my heart, because like they were people, like we have a friend that's a wizard and it's what he does professionally, and we're like, of course we got to go film him. So we went and filmed him and we filmed this amazing thing with him, but that's what landed us in Louisville, Kentucky, which led to all these other things that made like filming with a wizard and putting that in the movie feel like too on the nose. And not with this, like, it's nothing against wizards and witches and priests and gurus and all of the people that have maybe self-initiated, but this film is an initiation, and by the uninitiated, by people that, it's to show you that you contain the magic and it was you all along. And magic's not a trick. it's a vibration. It's something you can tap into, and it helps you see the world in a different way, in a more positive way. So, you know, kind of exclusively painting with the colors that we came across in nature, so to speak, felt like a really unique challenge and an opportunity to make something that vibrated like way higher than something that was like precious and planned for.
Very cool. Well, as we wrap it up, the thing I always try to kind of remind our audiences is that we're lucky enough that filmmakers like you all share your films early in their life cycle with us. And so that is for the things that kind of resonate with USS and the audiences. Like our job is to kind of be the grassroots street team to kind of go and help spread the word. And so I guess that leaves me with kind of two questions for you. So one is, what's the best way for folks to kind of continue to follow the path of the film and kind of talk about it with other folks? But then also, I know as kind of creative spirits, you guys are out there making, you know, interesting things all the time. And so can you tell us a little bit about what are the projects that you kind of do between documentaries and how folks might be able to kind of tune in and continue to follow that?
Yes, we do a weekly podcast where we chronicle all of our adventures. Cass and I just sit down and talk every week, and that is called the Very Ape Podcast, which can be found on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/veryape. And the podcast led us to having an online community that we call Church of Chill. And it's a very fun thing where it's just all like-minded heads who are just interested in films and music and community and spiritual growth. So we do that. But I think that the best way to support us is to hop on our Patreon, which is only $2 a month. And that's patreon.com/Church of Chill. And basically, there's all kinds of bonus podcasts on there. We put out a weekly radio show of music on there. We have a Discord community, and that is also where you can purchase this film. That's kind of the new place we're setting up shop. Like, purchase our films there, see all of our content, and yeah, we're right now trying to raise money for our next film is about America's gambling epidemic, and it's called Chasing the Lights. So that's the next one.
Cool. Well, folks, definitely search out Very Ape and Sean Dunn, Cassidy Greener. Thanks again for being here, and welcome back to SF DocFest.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It's such an honor. Very
Thank
grateful.
you so much.
Most definitely. Thanks again, guys.